Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm excited to be here with some special guests today, Eve Starr. Now, Eve and I met at NORWAC this year. Our booths were right next to each other. And so we got to talking, and obviously, I loved Eve Starr's booth. So you'll hear more about that today. But so, Eve, how long have you been an astrologer?
I've been an astrologer for about 12 years, about a Jupiter cycle, just over a Jupiter cycle. And the beginning was not, a singular moment in time. So you can kind of say 15 years, you can kind of say 18 years, But I really started paying attention on the level of consciousness of like, oh, this is what I want to do about 12 years ago.
Interesting. So I mean, why are you into astrology? Like what do you use it for? What is your thing with astro?
Such a good question. Uh, there's really a different mood. Any different mood would get a different answer to that question. So the first sentence that popped into my head, it's just the way I've been working with my own story lately is there's a way in which astrology replaced Christianity for me. So I was a very deeply mystical, practicing, devoted Christian and left the church, as many people do, to really not because it was incorrect, but because it wasn't the whole. It was obviously not the whole. And I was being expanded. I was being invited by Spirit to branch out and to explore beyond that. And however, that process was extremely destabilizing and challenging and an experience of great loss and heartbreak, lost my community, lost my worldview such that it was very challenging to express anymore or to like understand what I thought because my whole context had been obliterated. So to even understand what was happening in the world and what was my place in the world and like what is this whole thing was just turned upside down. And so I was searching for a new understanding and and I really immediately tuned into my body. I was also exploring birth control through fertility awareness and got in touch with my body in a way that I never had being raised in that context. And that was extremely powerful and liberating and immediately connected me with the cycles of the moon because a woman's cycle is affected dramatically, cyclically by the waxing and the waning of the moon. And so this is the 18-year mark, right? This is when I really started paying attention to the cycle of the moon and my relationship with the moon. So I've been thinking about that lately, like, oh, I really have been doing astrology for longer because I was tracking my fertility. It was very precise. It was very Virgoan, Saturn North Node in the
Oh
fifth house in Virgo.
my God. They don't
Yeah,
call it the moon seas for nothing. I mean, it is
they
the moon
don't.
seas. Yeah.
Totally. So yeah, then was exploring that relationship with my body, that relationship with the moon, and at the time, my relationship with plants through medicinal plants and psychoactive plants, and that opened me into a really deep relationship with Terence McKenna, although he had passed. But he was pretty much my guru for many years. I would just tune into Terence McKenna every day. And one day, Terence McKenna made the comment, someone asked him, like, how do you know when to do a deep dive psychedelic trip? And and he said, I don't know, maybe astrology. Maybe that's what astrology is good for. And something just dinged in my consciousness. Like it was this glowing, the word is like the words coming out of his mouth, glowing. And I remember this was one where I was watching him talk, not just listening to him. And I was stunned by that sentence. And I started just asking people their sun signs. Like, I didn't even know what a sun sign was. Like, I knew nothing. I just knew people would say, I'm a this and I'm a that, and that was astrology.
Hmm.
And so I started tuning into the archetypes in that way just through the archetypal expression of the people around me. And then it really unfolded from there.
Fascinating. God, that's such a cool segue. And like I've never really studied Terrence McKenna, but I mean, I love people with psychedelic charts, like with crazy Neptunes and stuff like that. And like I've actually timed several trips to people's transits, like people who have
Oh,
trippy charts. So
oh.
I definitely agree with him that, you could time tripping to your chart, absolutely. So I don't mean to segue from you, but like that was so interesting. So now are you a Pisces?
Yes, I am.
Because I feel like Pisces is also really into divinity. Like I know you were a Christian and now you're maybe a Christian astrologer. I don't know, but no, really. See, I'm a Christian astrologer, but I'm a Pisces moon. But the thing is, I just love divinity in general, like spirit in general, universe in general, anything like vast, like any vast positive thought forms that I think are really good for Pisces people. So tell us your sun, moon, and rising.
Yeah, so and just to like say that I do in my own heart still hold Christianity as a part of my entire worldview, but I would not say like title myself as a Christian anything, even though I am still a Christian. It's just a part. And the challenge of, unless in a context like this where you can speak to it more fully, the challenge of how loaded that is in this culture, I just stay away from it. That's my personal approach to it. But yes, so I'm seven placement Pisces. So I got a
Seven?
lot. Seven. That's including asteroids, but I have three of the four goddess asteroids
Oh,
in
wow.
Pisces. So all of this, of course, started for me when Neptune went into Pisces.
Ah.
So I have Mars at 0 degrees and Mercury in the 25th degree. So really the whole of Pisces and everything else in between. So really the whole of Pisces is just lit up for me. And so Neptune went into Pisces and I just
Oh my God.
blasted off.
That is crazy. And then Saturn just went through Pisces. So it's like I know you did a lot of work on your business with Saturn and Pisces. And so we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, that's so cool. Well, I do think it's really loaded. Like anytime you use the word Christian, it conjures a certain image for people. Like they have their idea of what a Christian is. And so when you even identify with that word, like you're getting a lot of conjured images that maybe you don't identify with at all. So I can see where
Yeah,
now, do you identify as an astrologer? Do you tell people I'm an astrologer?
I do. And I'm a consulting astrologer. So it was challenging for many years when I wasn't consulting. I would say I'm an astrological artist or an artist who does astrological art, and it always felt bulky and like people are like, well, what is that, what does that mean? And my art is a visual reading, like it is a channeled expression of the chart. So I understood in my own little sacred inner temple that I was an astrologer, but I didn't feel quite ready to name myself as an astrologer, but now I'm full-time consulting and I've been studying it for long enough that I feel like I can stand behind that title. So yeah, I do identify myself as an astrologer. And I currently say I'm an artist and an astrologer. Or I'll say I'm a celestial painter and practicing astrologer. It's still bulky to say both, but they go together.
Interesting. So, before we get into your paintings, tell me what kind of readings do. Like, what is your structure for a reading, and then what kind of readings do you do?
Yes, so I do basically I do natal chart readings, the umbrella term of natal chart readings, as well as synastry relationship readings. And I've piddled, like tiptoed into the waters of astrocartography enough to recognize that I really need to learn more to do that properly. But I'm really keen on that particular use of astrology. It's fascinating to me. But and transit astrology. So when I say natal chart readings, it's always looking at the transits. And I use several other techniques, but it's very experiential, very intuitive, very connected to that person's field. And the more that I relax the brainy, like, oh, like I get off on the fractal and the patterns and just like relaxing that and connecting with that person, it doesn't take much to really open into what it is that they're needing when you're sitting with them and just I've learned how to have my private enjoyment of the fractal without necessarily trying to elucidate all of that to them because it tends to get them out of their heart space. So I'm very tuned in to always coming back to the heart space, but I do still use the astrological language because it communicates to them. I've recognized that it communicates to them beyond their brain. And I will tell them, I'll say, look, I'm going to use astrological language, but I don't want you to try to understand it because I'm a teacher and they'll automatically go into like teacher student kind of thing. Like, I don't want you to try and understand it. I just want you to let it land in your heart as a really deep, real, complicated, ancient system that has all of these roots that you don't have to understand. But you can feel when I use this language, you can feel that I'm not just pulling this out of my ass, you know?
Interesting. Well, a few thoughts there. One is like with your Saturn North Node in Virgo, I can see where you are into the detail, the mathy part of astrology. I mean, I feel like the Pisces part of you is probably into the vibrations of it and the feels and the auras and all that kind of stuff. But that Virgoic part might get really into the details. And in computer programming, they call it noise. When you have all this data that doesn't apply to the situation, it's called noise. And so I think a really good astrologer does exactly what you're saying, which is to get rid of the noise during a reading and not give them all that minutia. Even if you can see it with your Virgo part, you can see all that data. You don't necessarily give that all to the client because that would be erroneous information or and really you're dealing with the inquiry that is at hand, it sounds like. So you kind of go for the inquiry. What do they want from the chart? That
Yes. And
yeah.
a lot of times, because I sit in shops, so I take private consultations, but I also sit in shops. I'm at that stage in my career where I'm putting myself out there to really create a client base. So people will just like be like, "Hey, I think I want to go get a reading," and 5 minutes later they're getting a reading. So they weren't necessarily prepared for it; they just felt stirred. And so a lot of people will come in and say, I don't really know. Just tell me what you see. And so I'm still immediately trying to, I'm looking at the transits and trying, like, they do know. They just don't want to tell me, you know? So I'm like trying to find that thing, that heart connection that is what I'm looking for.
That's like literally the hardest reading inquiry, and people always think it's the simplest. Like, read my chart. And it's like that'd be like if you took your car into the auto mechanic, you're like, read my car. Like it doesn't. It's actually really hard. And it's like it almost helps to have a template of like if they say read my chart, I look at the sun, moon, and rising, and then the north node, or like all the transits. And so I think I hear you on that having an inquiry almost helps you focus in. But now, are you an evolutionary astrologer or psychological astrologer? Like, what is your bent?
Yeah, so I definitely started through just learning modern astrology. But I have to say, so I will answer that question, but I have to start with the way that I learned astrology was just looking at charts. Like Neptune had gone into my 11th house of Pisces with all of my placements, and I was in such a like permanent psychedelic field that you can't really say that I was studying astrology for those years. I was just getting this download. And I would just, the Virgo part of me would just like look at the charts and obsess over the charts. And so this wasn't the programs, and I was always pushing it forward, pushing it backward, like looking at the geometry, imagining it in 3 dimensions. And then I would draw it, and then I would paint it, and then I would look at the sky, and I was always trying to understand the directions and like where the things were and feel the angles. And then I was just like open, and then I would get this download of what it meant, and then I couldn't put it into words. Like I could not put it into words, and I would just go paint it. And so I did this for like 8 years before I ever read books, before I ever had conversations with other astrologers. I would sometimes listen to astrologers on YouTube to like get my mooring. So that's really my foundation, which isn't like modern or ancient or evolutionary or anything. It's just like looking at the bare bones of the thing.
Wow.
Um, and then, yeah, the first influences were Steve Judd and Rick Levine.
Okay.
And so they're modern, but they are still very, very phenomenal world oriented to like this is what we're actually looking at on the earth from our point of view that the planets are doing, and then we're applying it to the history and we're looking at the angles of the charts, and it's just like it was modern but it wasn't super psychological. I've
Mhm.
never been into the super psychological until really the first system that I was introduced to was through Redwood, who is our mutual friend.
Oh my God, Redwood Narragon, who made this amazing shirt, which I love
Shout out.
so much.
Shout out.
He's coming in for a video in a few months. We're gonna make an arty video, clowning around, so that'll be fun.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
So he is an absolute genius, as you know, evolutionary astrologer. And he introduced me to that system and really gave me a transmission of that system. And I would not call myself an evolutionary astrologer, but I'm a I'm an eclipse baby. So that aspect of that particular paradigm is what I've taken with me. I do a lot of nodal work. Like I'm always looking at the nodes first. It's just like my lens.
Mm.
So that aspect of evolutionary astrology is really significant to my practice. And then in the past couple of years, I've been starting to delve into Hellenistic astrology. And my goal is to really make that my foundation, but I'm never going to be just a this or just a that. It's always just all that Pisces, like it's just much more expansive
Mhm.
than that for me.
A few thoughts there, like Rick Levine is so awesome. I love Rick. He's very quantum. He's got some quantumness to his. It's like
Yeah.
he's psychological quantum or something like that. Like, and I don't know the Judd person, but yeah. So wait, are you a Sun, Moon, in Pisces conjunct the North Node?
I didn't ever answer your question. Okay, so no, my sun is Pisces with the south node. My north node is in Virgo, and my moon is in Aries. So that was a solar eclipse. I'm like 2 days after the solar eclipse.
Okay, okay,
So
interesting,
the moon had moved into Aries. Yeah.
fascinating. And do you have the Sun opposed Saturn?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, okay, so I can see why your art is so detailed and like really refined, and you guys will see Eve's art in a second. It's amazing. But yeah, and as far as the Hellenistic stuff, it's really awesome, I think, for anyone to go down the Hellenistic track there. I really hope that you learn teleology and read your ensoulment book, because that is the philosophical underpinning of Hellenistic astrology is teleology, which doesn't get talked about a lot in the Hellenistic side of things. So I think as a Pisces and a kind of
Mm,
um, just a more like philosophical thinker, I think you'll really love teleology. So that's my only two
cool,
cents I have to say.
cool.
Um,
Love it.
okay, so let's see. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else about. So if people want a reading from you, how do they get one of those?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, and my shop has the best that I can differentiate between the options for my art as well as the options for my reading. So in my shop, I just have a natal chart reading, which I'm just calling astrological reading, and synastry relationship readings.
Okay, what's your website?
It's eveningstarmaps.com.
Eveningstarmaps.com. Okay, so your name Eve Star, does it mean evening star?
They are related, yes, and this is my spirit given name. This is not my birth name.
Okay, interesting, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay, I know this
started
is
out,
like, huh?
I was gonna say it started out as my stage name, and then the more and more people called me that, the more and more I liked it, and so now I even have my family calling me Eve, which is hilarious because it is a biblical there's a biblical twist there, and my family is the fundamentalist Christian situation that I was born into.
Well, as we know, there is astrology all over the Bible. I mean, I read it in ancient Greek,
Yes.
and it's like it's actually the lights of the heavens, which is like the sun and the moon, obviously, are the lights of the heavens. I mean, I'm not gonna get into that, but like as a Christian astrologer myself, I just think they go together so famously.
Yes,
But
they do.
I get the traditional people don't, so we won't go there. So I know this is really uncouth to ask, but I'm just have a curiosity disorder. So how much is one of your readings?
My readings are the for a single person, they're 200.
Okay.
And for a relationship reading, I can't remember right off the top of my head. I think it's 250 for two
Okay.
people.
And are they an hour or how long are they?
They're 90 minutes.
Okay, 90 minutes. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
And I usually go a little bit over. I'm not one of those people who's really rigid about that. So, and every once in a blue moon, an hour and 15 minutes goes by and people are like, I'm good, I'm cooked. And it will end short, but most of the time I go a little over.
Oh yeah, you can totally overstim people during astrology reading. That is real. So what's your Mercury look like?
Pisces.
Pisces, and what are the aspects to it? Any?
Yes. So I have a kite. So I have Mercury trine Uranus, trine, it's a little bit looser, but trine Jupiter. So
Wow.
Mercury, Uranus, Jupiter trine. Hmm.
And Jupiter's in what sign? Cancer?
Ju so Jupiter is actually in Leo, but it's retrograde and it retrograded back into Cancer a couple hours after I was born.
Interesting. So it's an out of sign aspect there.
Yes.
Okay, okay, interesting. Yeah, because you're a good talker, so I'm really it's finding it very easy to talk to you. So I'm like, wow, you must have a good Mercury, and that is a beautiful Mercury, Mercury, Uranus,
Thank
Jupiter.
you.
That'd be very healing to talk to you. I would imagine to, be uplifting and
Yeah, and that's been a challenge in this culture because I do very much have Mercury in Pisces, and I am also very mercurial. So it's challenged by being in Pisces, but there is a strong Mercury there, and my upbringing in the church was very hermetic. So writing, speaking, reading, and the focus on language has been with me throughout my entire life. Both my mom and my dad are very language centric. And yeah, but what I like, the whole of what I see is very hard as a Pisces, as all that Pisces is very hard to get into language and very hard to say it succinctly and quickly. And so I know that when I'm connecting well with someone like I am with you, there is synastry there. And so, I mean, just off the bat, that Pisces moon is going to make this a good conversation because you're able to roll with the way that my Mercury likes to express.
nice. I have a Mercury trine Jupiter too. It's my Mercury's conjunct Uranus trine Jupiter. So like yeah.
Interesting.
So what degree is your sun?
9.
Nine.
Well,
Okay, my moon. Go
it's
ahead.
in so it's in the 10th degree.
Oh, interesting. My moon's 14, so we have pretty close synastry there.
It's close. Yeah, my south node is 17. So,
Oh wow, cool, cool. Okay. Okay. Well, and it's funny because I do have to say something about the Norwalk. We're both so Pisces, and it's like we both have the arty tables. I mean,
yeah.
and Redwood Narragon, who's also a super Pisces, is like Pisces
Yeah.
rising with like everything in Pisces over there. And it's like all the three of us were like the Pisces and we had like the arty tables. It was so funny.
It was so great. It's so refreshing to be around other artists in that context because you're both big time scholars as well, but feeling that like weirdo artist vibe in community is really nice because we stick out in a situation like that.
Totally. We just did an interview with a computer programmer. He's a Virgo rising, and he's just like everything's so clean line and computer program, and like the artists, like your table was just like full of art, and so it's like so it's time to talk about that. Like, so you have some really fancy. Now, okay, I've seen a lot of astro art in my day, but I have to say that Eve had the most fancy, clean line. Like, this is what you want to get for your grandchild that they can have for their rest of their life and pass down for like
Yes.
generations. Your kind of art is the kind of art that would go on the wall of a castle or
Thank you.
kind of thing. So,
Thank
so
you.
let can we see some of your astro art?
Yes, absolutely. And I will say that that's very much true and that's very much my goal. Virginia Rosenberg, I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's an astrologer from Asheville, so we knew each other because we were both in Asheville. And I did a piece for her, and that was what she said of it, that's heirloom art. Like this is art that you pass down.
Yeah.
And I feel so grateful for that reflection because that is what I'm aiming for.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, yeah. It makes me think of this ex-boyfriend I had who would take these platinum photographs and his like motto was like live forever. Because platinum photographs don't age or something like that. But
huh.
makes me think of your art because it's like, okay, if you have a baby and they have a chart, right? And it's like it's the map of their spirit, right? And then you make it into this big art piece like that. It's like this is like your baby living forever. Like you know how like they say
Yes.
arts function posthumously, right? It's like they
Yes.
could live forever in your art. So
So it's interesting that you say that because the art that I'm going to show you is several of the pieces that I'm going to show you. This is my longest and most prolific collector, and she sent me to Norwalk my first year, paid for my whole trip because I was a broke ass artist. And she said, I just want art, but I don't want it yet because I'm going to have a baby. So just put it on the books. And so I just had this, you know, get out of jail free card for her for this free art, not free art, but already paid for art. And so she recently had a baby a little over a year ago. So I did these two pieces for her in exchange for that first trip to Norwalk. And they're my favorite commission pieces that I've ever done. They're so exquisite. And creating that art for this baby, like it kept bringing me into this like deep joy and also this like emotion of just like so overwhelm the intensity of the emotion that doesn't really have words of like I would just weep. I would just be like, this is this child's soul, and like it's gonna outlive me, it's gonna outlive her, like she'll pass this down in her family. It's just like mind-blowing.
that's so cool.
It's
Yeah, I mean,
so
art is it's the emotional coloring of life into like this beautiful circus of just awesomeness. So
yes,
yeah.
yes it is. Okay, so should I do screen share to show you?
Sure, you can.
Okay. Um, Figure out.
Hopefully you can do it on this computer. This is not my computer, but oh,
I
there you
think
go.
I can. All right.
I love the golds. Like so much of Eve's art was black with gold
Yes.
writing, and it was just it's so good. Like the metallics.
So I'll show you that piece first. This piece I did bring to Norwalk this year and last year. I'm going to show you two photos of it. So we'll do this one first. So
Wow, that is so good. Like what the heck?
thank you. So I mounted it on a scroll. This is before the scroll, and this is a lot of metallics. So this is a small star map. This is what I do for people when I'm sitting with them in readings because I don't want to be looking at the screen. I want to be looking at a piece of art and to really be centered inside of my own soul and with that person's soul. So I do that for my art, and I've done that with my art for years. And I would just draw a chart first, but now I use these are reproductions of my original art. And so I did the chart on here first and used that as reference. So I'm not staring at a screen the whole time I'm creating the artwork. And then here's the chart. So there's three portions of this. There's the chart in the middle. This is Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Hmm.
There's a compass rose at the top. He's very Saturnian, so I made the compass rose into Saturn. And then this is the heliocentric position of the planets. Now, his work got a little chaotic and very feminine, which makes me pretty happy. But you can see the planets in there, like they're little colored dots. Like there's Mars, there's Earth, here's Saturn over here.
Wow.
So this is the heliocentric position of the planets at the moment of his birth. And then I mounted this piece onto a scroll, which this is what I brought to Norwalk. So this is a Chinese scroll made by Henry Lee,
Mhm.
who's an amazing Asian artist and scroll maker. But eventually I'm going to be making my own scrolls. Like that's part of the evolution of this process. So here it is on there, and then I just did the star as my signature. So, and this is a silk scroll, so beautiful. And then it just rolls up, and you can take gorgeous pieces of art with you. You know, you can put it in a backpack.
Wow. So how long does it, and so what is the actual paper made of? You said the scroll's silk, but what is the paper made out of?
So this paper, this black paper is called Xuan paper, and that's I think Xuan, and it's made out of different materials. It's either mulberry, um, like what silkworms eat mulberry leaves to make silk. So it's either mulberry leaves or bamboo. And then I think there's one other plant that grows in Asia that I'm not familiar with that's sometimes used for this paper, but it's very, very, very thin. It's very fragile. It's completely unforgiving. Like you cannot erase. And that's part of that North Node, Saturn in Virgo thing. Like I really like to give myself a challenge because, and this, I actually recorded the process and put it all on Instagram. So you can, I made mistakes. And then, so if you make a mistake on a piece like this, you have to solve that problem creatively because you can't erase it.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
and
Yeah, I
then,
like to do that with Sharpie on paper posters. Like I don't use I use a Sharpie so I can't erase, but it's like giving
yeah,
a tattoo, right? Like you can't erase, like that's part of the fun challenge of it, you know? It's
yes.
fascinating. Okay.
And it like forces you into this really creative mode in this into this really creative zone to have those kinds of restrictions. Very Saturnian.
So what is the gold that you use? What is it? Is that paint or is it what is that?
It's ink. This is all gold ink.
Okay.
And so this outer and this one right here, the copper, I'm pretty sure that copper is actually a watercolor, but the gold is ink.
Wow. And then your glyphs for the planet or for the signs are just beautiful.
Thank you.
They have that Pisces look very like flowy and circusy kind of and then
Mhm.
you have the bounds in there.
I do. Hmm.
Okay, that's your little Hellenistic
Uh-huh.
influence there. Now, which bounds do you use, the Egyptian or the Chaldean?
So that well, these are actually the decans.
Oh, okay.
I misspoke. These are actually the decans. And so part of the way I've learned astrology is like when I don't know something and I don't understand it, I'll put it into the art. So when
Nice.
I did this, I was just starting to get into the decans and I really did not understand them. It's still something I only know a little bit about.
Uh-huh.
Um, but this, if I remember correctly, there's two different decan sets that you can use, and I think this one is the one that corresponds to the elements. I'm pretty sure it corresponds. This is the one that corresponds to the elements. So yeah, that's why that because the bounds are not even, right? These are even 10 degrees, 10 degrees, 10 degrees.
Hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and so it looks like you have a lot of kind of like plant themes in your art. Like there's plants growing in there. Where's that
Hmm.
from?
So this piece, I definitely part of that journey that I was talking about when I left the church, first connecting with my body and then connecting with the plant queendom, I was planning on being an herbalist. Like I was studying to be an herbalist and I was making medicines and really experimenting on myself and wanted to become a practitioner. And it was in that process, the plants told me, like, no, you're not going to be an herbalist. That's not what we need you for.
Wow.
You need to paint. You need to be an artist. You've been painting since you were a child. Like, go back to that because I had really moved away from it. And the plants brought me back to painting. And so I'm just a kitchen witch, like I don't do it professionally, but it comes out in my art. So Neil deGrasse Tyson was born, I think in New York City, definitely in New York. And he was born in autumn, if I remember correctly. Where's that sun? Yeah, Libra sun. And so I was trying to find flowers. I really wanted to do flowers. Like I really felt like I needed to bring this feminine flow into his chart because he's in such like overly rationalistic rut. And so I was like, what flowers were blooming when he was born that I would enjoy painting?
Mhm.
And so I found out that mums were blooming in that part of the country when he was born. So these are mums.
Hmm, interesting. And so there's also a lot of circles. I mean, I know the chart's a circle, but I feel like there's like As
Yeah,
like a lot of the stuff I saw had like multiple circles on it.
you're correct. So if you were to look at my whole portfolio, you would see circle upon circle upon circle. And that's also an origin point for my work. So long before I was studying astrology, just growing up, even as a teenager, probably even before that, like when I was not okay, when I was really out of balance, I would draw circles. Just freehand draw circles, and they'd be all gnarly because I was all out of balance, and I would just sit and focus and like did it with a pencil and just erase and continue to like tune into, because the circle is self-correcting, continue to tune into that edge and like feel the edge of the circle until I was able to draw a perfect circle. And by the time I got all the way through the exercise and had drawn a perfect circle, I would have calmed down. And so that really carried me into this work. So I actually started drawing sacred geometry before I started drawing astrology, but it's obviously completely intimately intertwined. And I started with the flower of life because I was just mesmerized by these overlapping circles that created this beautiful pattern. And that flower of life is also self-correcting. So if you sit and draw it, it becomes a meditation and it orders and calms your mind.
Mhm.
So that has just carried through in my art. I love circles. I'm obsessed with circles and I draw a lot of circles. I do also a lot of line work, just like really stark the contrast of the flow of the circles and the curves with the straight lines and the angles, which of course plays right into what we see in the movements of the planets.
Well, yeah, and I think the Pisces is a lot more circles, and then the Saturn and Virgo is very linear. And it's like you're like like I feel like your style is very Pisces meets Virgo, which is it's like super clean line circus looking,
Yes.
kind of thing. And all the metallics is very Pisces, and but the cleanness of it is very Virgo, and like the technical part of the drawings and stuff like that. Now, why did you choose black? I mean, I like the black so much, but it is everything you do on black.
Mm-mm. No, I do a lot of black because the night sky. So
Okay.
it just makes the stars pop so beautifully. And I also love the cleanness of it, the stillness of it, the mystery of it. Um, it's not a color, it's the lack of all color, and there's a power to it. I mean, I'm looking at you right now. You have a black background, black shirt, black glasses, black lipstick, and but then there's you framed so perfectly in that black. Like it just, whenever there's black, it frames what you're putting on it very loudly. I used to sell my art at an outdoor market in Asheville regularly. And there was we were all, not everybody down there, but everybody down there who was a painter. We were just crazy artists. And there was this man, Matthew, um, he really helped me in the beginning start selling my art. He was genius at selling his art, absolute genius. And one day he said to me, he's like, we got to work on your color theory. No more black. This is not okay. And I was like, sorry, you're fighting a losing battle. Like I use black a
Mhm.
lot.
Wow. I'm glad you bucked that. Yeah, because the Scorpio in me just loves the blackness of it. I mean, obviously I style myself on purpose this way, but like, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think it just looks so in this case the black looks so classic and like heirloomy to me. Like it's in black can look good on like a temple wall or in a
Yes.
family room or wherever, and white is just I don't know, like I think the black is a great choice. Now, how long does it take you to make one of these?
That's a good question. So hours, I actually have pieces that I've calculated the hours and collections that I've calculated the hours, but I haven't calculated the hours on these scrolls. Um, but the time in days and weeks, it's usually a 3 to 6 week process to get from beginning to end of one of these pieces.
Hmm, interesting. So I guess that's one of the challenging things about being an artist for pay is like how to quantify that
Yes.
process. And it's like kind of like an auto mechanic making an estimate for a car repair. It's like, do you make an estimate or how does that work with the payment?
So yeah, over time my prices change, and they have steadily risen, and they will continue to rise as my work becomes more popular because um, it's really worth quite a lot being the only piece of art that you could get like this from anybody in the whole world.
Hmm.
And it takes me a long time. But currently, they're priced by the piece. If someone were to, so they're the bottom line of a scroll is 4,000. You're not going to get one for less than 4,000. But if someone were to bring a design that was more complex than this, then I might quote them a higher price. But I give them a quote, and that's the quote in the beginning. So I'm trusting myself to get it right. And if it takes me longer than what I asked to be paid for, then I eat that.
Hmm.
That just feels really important to me for people to know what they're going to be paying up front.
Hmm. So then do you have pieces that are less than that, or is like the $4,000 piece your only piece?
Yeah, so my paintings, and I'll bring up a painting for you now. I'll bring up the two paintings that I did for the baby. So the paintings start at 1,000,
Okay.
and and then I have these reproductions that are quite a lot less, so that everybody can have access to their natal chart as a piece of art. And I'll go to those after this. But so these paintings, so these are commission works, so it's a co-creation between me and the client. And people want to co-create at varying levels. Some people are like, just do what you do, here's my birthday, and don't use purple, you know. And some people want to have a lot more say in it. So this client, she is very co-creative with me, and I love it. She'll be like, "Can we change? Can we just like add a little?" She doesn't change. She doesn't ask me to change because you can't change it. Once it's there, it's there. But she'll be like, "Can we just add a little thing?" And whatever she has an idea to add something, it always works and makes it better. And I just love doing that with her. But so this was the first piece for that baby, and this is her chart made into an astrolabe.
Oh yeah, interesting.
And there's the mermaids, and so she's Cancer. You can see in here she's Cancer Sun, Cancer Venus, Cancer Mercury, and a Capricorn Moon. And
Okay.
her mama is a Cancer Moon, Cancer Mercury. Now I'm not remembering all of a sudden her sun. Is she a Cancer Sun? I think she's a Cancer Sun too. Anyway, so this is a very Cancerian expression for this
Mm.
baby. And this mama, and so this background with these clouds was part of a painting that I did for the mom years before, I think like 5 or 6 years before. And I did a couple of versions before I settled on the one that I wanted to do, and that was of her natal chart. And those versions, they were on, they were just like partially painted. They were on really gorgeous watercolor paper. So I saved the paper and went back to, this was one of the versions of the artwork that I did for the mom that I then completed for the daughter.
Mm.
So, and you can see, so down here's the moon in Capricorn, and then here's the moon behind the clouds. And then up here, she wanted Moon and Venus to be pictured. So we've got Venus up here with the sun, and you don't see the sun, but you see the sunlight. And then this is Venus peeking out right here.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Mercury is presumably hidden. Maybe I should have painted Mercury in there. We can say Mercury is one of these little dots.
Oh, that's fascinating that the Venus and the moon are in there like that. That's cool. I think part of the fun of commissioning an artist to paint something for you is that you get to talk to the artist for a while. It's like in the modern day, I've been reading all these books on like artists and how they market in the modern day. And basically it's talking about how because the market's kind of saturated because everyone can go on social media and things like that, basically that the fans or the crowd or whatever you want to call them, your community want to have a personal experience with you. That's kind of what they're paying for when they buy the art. So it's like you're kind of this like ubiquitous artist that can work anywhere, but if they pay for you, then they get to talk to you and there's a lot of interaction kind of beforehand or in the commission. So I think that's a really cool thing you got going on here with the letting them kind of inform what you do a little bit. I think that's cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very intimate process and very deep connection because especially with astrological art, you're channeling something that is an expression of the chart. And that's very vulnerable, just like doing a reading for people.
Hmm.
But I really am a commission artist. Like, I don't create art to express myself. I like a lot of people, a lot of artists will do commissions just because that's what they get paid for. But I do commissions because that's just the soul that I got born with in this life. It's like when I feel love for someone, I make them art. So, that was part of the whole thing. Like, well, if I want my work in the world to be love, then like the best way, I mean, the most authentic way that I love people is to make them art. So I prefer, and I do art that's not commission work, but I really prefer, I'd be happy to never do another piece of art again, except directly for a singular person who is co-creating with me. Like that is what my soul really wants to do.
Okay, so it's I have to speak to this a little bit because so like as an artist like there's things you make like you'll make like animal keychains or whatever just to sell at a booth or something like that. And it's like it's fun or whatever. You're just like I'm making animal keychains. But when someone's like, "Can you make me a giraffe with my name on it or whatever?" You're like making your keychain, you're just like, "Oh my God, it's the giraffe for Sherry or whatever." Like
Yes,
I totally know that feeling
yes.
of like this is for Sherry. Like so think about this if you're watching. Like if you want Eve to Pisces trip on you with her heart, big heart chakra. I felt it. It was big. Um, let her make you art.
It's so true. It's so much more meaningful. Like, if I want to express myself, I do other things. Like, art is hard. Like, it's hard. It hurts my body. It
Ah,
takes a lot of work and concentration and energy and focus and time away from doing other things that I would really love to do. Like, it's work. And I don't want to just do that. Like, I don't want to. But like if I'm doing it for somebody, that is a whole different experience because it's like I'm really loving you, like I'm doing this thing that I'm good at that I got born with for you on behalf of you. And you can really feel that in the piece. Like my pieces are magical. I always channel something like I don't understand this part, it's just what came through. And people will be like, "Oh my God." And sometimes they tell me and sometimes they don't. But yeah, there's
it's like
always
putting.
something
We always
accidental.
joke that like autistic and artistic are like one letter apart, but it's
Yeah,
like, can you put your autistic self on me for a second? Like that's like what it is if someone's to hire you to do this, basically.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, let me show you this dragon. So, I've been doing charts forever. And recently what's coming through are expressions of creatures that are guardians. So, this is for the same little girl. This is her guardian dragon. Let me actually put them side by side because they match. They're meant to go together.
Wow, I can see the color scheme's the same and it's not black. It's
Yep.
more like
And this
cancer.
came from that same large piece of paper that was the original. Yeah, it's not black. That was the original, like partially painted piece of the mama. But yeah, so this is her guardian dragon. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it. The eye, I'm like, why won't it zoom? It's like the most living eye I've ever painted. Oh, it's hard to see here.
Wow. Oh yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
But like the
It's like
detail
looking
of it,
at me.
yeah, yeah. This dragon is so alive.
Wow, that is cool. That's a good one.
So yeah, I'm these are my two most favorite commissions to date. I just love them.
Wow, good job, Eve.
Thank you, Andrea.
Do you want to show us some more stuff?
Yeah. So we'll go down in price. So I do for all of my readings include a um a star map, which is my original art, but it's been reproduced so that I just customize it for the person. And there are multiple pieces to choose from. I customize it for the person with their chart. This is Leonard Cohen.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, indeed.
Or no, is that he was he singing Hallelujah? I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I think he wrote it. Jeff Buckley covered it and many other people covered it, but
I know he
yeah,
sings I'm Your Man,
yes, he does. He does. He's so wonderful.
but I like
Um,
the rose in the picture.
yeah, that's why I showed this one first because I just love the expression of it, although I actually don't have this design available anymore.
So
But
is
so
this
I
really
painted
tiny? Is it
it's
really
tiny,
tiny?
it's 4.5 by 4.5.
Wow, that's so cute.
Yeah, and then there are other designs. So this one is a mermaid, and she has a matching pirate with another ship. And this one is actually for that same little girl. And this was an example of the mama saying, "Hey, could you do?" She said, "Hey, could you put her initials on there?" And so I put her initials up here in the style of a monogram. And I
Wow,
just love it. I think it's so smooth.
very cool.
So that's one of my original paintings. And then most of them are paintings, but this one is a photograph. This is one of I've only done a couple of photographs and they're all flowers, but this one I brought to Norwalk. So this is a rose that I took the photo, but it is a photo, it's not a painting. And then this gold emboss, my printer does that, but they're all my drawings. So it's all original art. The only machines involved are the printers to make the reproduction. And then they're soft touch. So they're just like this really luxurious material that's almost like fabric, but it's paper. And then you can feel that little gold embossing and it's shiny and just so pretty.
Hmm, very beautiful. I love the metallics.
And then this one, yeah, the metallics are so fun. This one's a dragon with a smaller chart on it.
Oh. How much is it to get one of those?
So to get one of these just by itself is $69.
Oh my God, Shane would like one of those. Oh my God, that is so cool.
Yeah. Oh, but if you're getting it, there's a little Norwalk discount.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you get a little Norwalk discount. That's good through the end of the year. Anybody I met at Norwalk. So, and
How much
that's
is the producer of your show discount? No, I'm just kidding.
seriously,
I'm
totally.
just kidding.
Yeah.
No, no, no. No, that's I would happily pay $69 for that. Like, come on. I'm rich
Yeah.
and famous. I can buy the scroll. I can buy 10 scrolls. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, no, but yeah, no, that is totally worth $69. Like, I think that's a great price. And because it's like that, the charts are sacred objects. And I think we really have to understand that, these
Yeah.
printouts of charts on, you know, computer printouts, I think they're jumping the shark, honestly. I think people are wanting a more artistic rendering
Yep.
nowadays because the computer programs are just dry and ugh,
Yep.
So this is amazing. Like I am actually thinking birthday. I'm getting
Yes.
ready. So Evening
Thank you. Yeah.
Star. Oh, what's your website? Evening Star
Maps.
Maps. Maps. I'm gonna have to remember that. Evening Star Maps. We'll put that in the video. So if I ever need to find you, I can go to the video.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, most people buy them for gifts. I get really excited when people just buy one for themselves because I think that they're like if they're buying it for themselves, they really get it. Like they really get that this is sacred, it's magical, it is actually a useful tool. It goes on your altar, it goes in your ritual circle. Like use this, tune into this. This is your most powerful moment. This is the moment that you arrived here,
Yeah.
right? Your soul had enough coherence to get on the earth ride like this. There's so much power in it, and that's really what my work is about, is honoring the power of the soul to incarnate into flesh,
Yeah.
and then harnessing that as a magical tool.
Yeah. I just love your work so much. I mean, I've met a lot of astro artists and I would say you're definitely one of the few just like you are made for. I mean, they're all made for this, and I'm not playing favorites, but like your art is really exceptional, and I'm so glad we were able to have you on so people could find you.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I just looked at the time and realized we've been going for over an hour.
I know we're at time pretty much. And we have
I'm
1 minute.
so
And so with
honored.
oh yeah, I just love you. I just love talking to you.
It's
Um,
been wonderful. Like we have a really good connection.
yeah, Tilly, we must have a really good composite chart. Okay, so any last words in our last minute before we sign off? People can find you at eveningstarmaps.com.
.com. Yes. And oh yeah, one thing I didn't tell you, which would be very Piscean of me to just like slip through and not tell you, but I didn't tell you my rising. Can you guess?
I'm going to guess you are a Gemini rising.
Oh, I'm thank you. I'm not a Gemini rising, but that makes me feel really good.
What are you?
I am a Taurus rising.
Oh God, I was one sign off because I really feel like your Pisces is like high up in the chart.
It's in the 11th house, but yeah, that Venus, the rose-colored glasses, looking out at my entire chart is very Venus ruled.
Yeah, that makes sense. That really does make sense.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much, Eve. I hope to see you around the Moira Press or next year at Norwalk.
Yes, absolutely. It's been such a pleasure, Andrea. Thank you for
All
having
right.
me.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.